we're watching like a soap opera in front of us. The Brady, the Belichick, and the ugly. That's what we got. Because this thing is really, we should have, and you know what, Colin? We talked about the last time I was on the Herd with you. We kind of talked about this playing out, and it does all make sense. All of these lines measure up. When Belichick said to Brady, your guy's not welcome anymore in the training facility.
Alex Guerrero.
Right, Alex Guerrero. Didn't that tell you all you needed to know? Why are you upsetting the apple cart on your MVP quarterback that's just led you to the number 1 seed in the AFC? Why would you do that now in the midst of it?
Unless there's real strife.
Absolutely. That's the only way you would do it.
Danny Cannell believes that is as much as the decision. I think Belichick's ticked at Kraft, but Cannell agrees with you. This Guerrero thing's being underplayed.
It absolutely is. I think it's bigger than that because you can't do that during the regular season, during the season. If you were to make that change in the offseason, Colin, it would make a lot more sense. Hey, guys, next year, you can't have your own personal guys in the practice facility. We got to do this. We have to separate those guys from our guys and the team trainers. You would just lay that all out, and then Tom Brady would have to live with it, but you wouldn't do it during the regular season. That was a warning flag.
It's interesting about this. Brady's going to stay in New England, and I think he's going to play next year, but I am seeing some deterioration. I think Belichick overwhelmingly moves into retirement because he's done this without the star quarterback. Do you think there is I said the Giants is maybe a 10, 20%er. He's got a history. What's the one city Boston's insecure about? New York.
No doubt about it.
The Giants feels like it's slim, but it could happen. Do you feel there's anywhere else?
I got a place for him.
What?
How about Detroit as a landing spot?
First place that ever gave him a job.
Exact. Second place, I think he was wound up being like an assistant special teams coach back in 1976 with the Lions, right? They still have the same ownership. So
Stafford.
Okay.
They
have a quarterback.
But it doesn't.
And Bob Quinn, though, is their general manager who was with the Patriots for 15 years. So they know each other real well. Bob Quinn came from the Patriots. So if he still wants to coach and not have to look for a quarterback, and maybe he can look at Stafford and thinks that he can, change it or fix it or it's not that far away, there's your opportunity.
When you read the article, who looks worse? Who looks good? I mean, you've been somebody that's been highly critical of the Patriots. When you read this article, does it change the way you think about New England?
No, it doesn't. What I think what it did for me was I could see if I was Bill Belichick how I would be hurt, I would be disillusioned by what's going on because basically his legacies are on the line, and the owner picked the 40-year-old quarterback over the coach.
So you can get Belichick's anger. The article says disillusioned and furious. Those
absolutely,
are the words.
Because it's against everything, Colin, that he's always done, which is get rid of people too soon, like I think Bill Walsh, that was his thing, rather than too late. So this goes against him by keeping Tom Brady. Everybody in the league's looking for a quarterback. He had the guy sitting there that he drafted, trained, schooled, right? Everything ready to go. And now you're telling me I have to stick with Brady.
So you were sympathetic to Belichick in the article.
Absolutely. Because I think it undermines everything he's always done with that organization.
That's interesting. So my takeaway is it had to have been leaked from the opposite of Brady's side because Brady looks poor. Now, I said when I read this, and I like Brady, but there is a little Tom Cruise Scientology culty thing going on here. I read this TB12 method, which most of it I get what he's doing. He's creating a brand so when he retires from sports, he can have a brand. He, with his supermodel wife, he can have and by the way, supermodels eat right, sleep right. He's basically creating a male version of the supermodel, which is live longer, sleep right, look better, you're invincible. When you read it on Tom, do you think less of him?
I would say, yeah, I could see where Tom doesn't come off in a positive light. But I'm not. Are you really surprised by that? I think Tom's had a charmed life. I've always said everything goes his way. He has to have everything his own way. This is bucking against all the other quarterbacks who have ever played in this league. You've mentioned the names: Montana, Peyton Manning, all these guys
Fall apart.
Brett Favre, right? All these guys have all got moved up. Joe Namath, who was a star in New York, right? And predicting that they were going to upset the Colts and they win a Super Bowl.
Moved him out.
They moved him out. They moved everybody out. How many other great players? I said it to Shannon Sharp earlier. Shannon, you won a Super Bowl and you got moved out. Everybody gets moved out.
So Brady, according to the story, basically watched his idol Montana get moved out, and Brady's like, I'm not going to let this stuff happen to me. So do you defend Brady with that move?
I mean, I understand if you have the power over the owner to be able to make it happen, like a power play. Because now it's a legacy thing now in that once they split, who goes on? Does Tom Brady fade off into the sunset and has a bad year the next year at 41 or 42? And does Bill Belichick go on to coach somewhere else and realize that it was about me and my system and what I did? So there's a big thing hanging in the balance.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, who deserves more credit? I'm not saying it's 90-10, but if it's 55-45, who deserves more credit?
I'm going with the lesser of the two cheaters. So I'm going to take Bill Belichick.
You're going to take who are you going to take?
Bill Belichick. And we went, like, this is the whole thing. We went from Spygate to Deflategate, and now here comes Breakup Gate. That's where we are now. Because I look at these two, and somebody is going to get more of the credit. And Bill Belichick, to me, with everything that was done,
but
all
he
the stuff
couldn't
that was
win
put up
without
there.
Brady in Cleveland.
No, I know to start his career, there was no doubt about it. But also, a lot of things worked out for Brady. I'm not so sure. And what was the year with Matt Castle? I'm not saying Matt Castle's Brady, but that year showed a lot of people. People thought Patriots are done, right?
They won 11 games.
And they won 11 games. I know they didn't make the playoffs. It was fluky. But they won 11 games that year. And that showed me something about Belichick. And I would love to see him with somebody else, and I think that's what he was thinking about with Garoppolo.
See, I go back to this, and we were joking. And people thought I was crazy a few weeks ago when I said this, okay, so they spent all this time on Garoppolo and Brissett, and I like Brissett more than most people. I think he's a middle-of-the-league Kirk Cousins starter. He just hadn't had the opportunity with the right place. But he basically gave away Brissett for a bust receiver that they didn't need. They did not need Philip Dorsett, and then they gave away Garoppolo for a nickel, okay? And I said at the time, it's almost like sabotage. I don't want to use the word sabotage.
That's a good word, though. Good word for radio.
It's kind of and now, by the way, did you see also in this story that Belichick, for the first time in his career, is making calls and preparing both his coordinators to go. So when he leaves, doesn't that seem a little weird? He's never done it in his life at 67 years old, and all of a sudden now he's giving away quarterbacks and prepping his coordinators to be head coaches. He's getting the hell out of here.
It does look like he's greasing the skids, you know what I mean, so that he can slip out of town, leave the cupboard bare. They don't have a head coach because the two main guys will be somewhere else. And then it'll be Bob Kraft, and he'll say, Bob Kraft, here's your 40-year-old quarterback. You go ahead and win with that, and then let's see where you are.
By the way, the one coach that could take over New England right now and probably at least work for a few years is Josh McDaniels. And Belichick is calling on his behalf to get him out.
Right.
So Kraft can't hire him when Belichick leaves.
So there it is. There's a spot, and I think that Bob Kraft, he might be able to work the mac and cheese pretty good, but I don't know about the way he's handled a Hall of Fame coach.
Okay, finally, Boston media did not break the story. They were too busy carrying pom-poms. Are you surprised at all that national guys broke this story and not the local Boston media?
Yeah, because the local guys, there's some really good columnists up there. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
Dan Shaughnessy, Steve Buckley, really good columnists who dig and do a lot of good work. But I think up there's something about dealing with Bill Belichick and Brady where people are afraid of those guys. You don't get anything. The only time you hear anything from Tom Brady barely is on that WEEI when he does his own radio show.
When I was a local guy, I hated when the national guys came in and broke a story. It made me feel small.
Of course. You should know more about the local than anybody.
And Deflategate, Spygate, and Breakup Gate, all broken by somebody else.
There it is. It says something about the media there, and that maybe they're just not digging or they're not willing to push those guys to get more information.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.